Good afternoon, YouTube. Everybody out there, how you doing? So it's going to be a quick video, essentially a VR to Seller 558 discussion he brought up today, or some points that he made, or just observation that he had on the collapse. And I'll link it below, but he was basically saying how he didn't, at his level where he's at, he's not seeing a collapse scenario play out. There's lots of productivity, there's lots of things happening, building homes, new cars, plants getting, fields getting plowed and, produced and stuff. And just, he wanted what everybody else was seeing. And I thought that was really good, because I've been thinking about this all week, and ever since the grease thing went down, I think it's a good time to reevaluate the situation overall, just as far as, I started pretty much a lot of my thoughts on this channel about the economic collapse scenario being one of the primary things that I was concerned about and prepping for, and was likely. So I think that's what he talks about is evaluating your situation. What's the scenario? This is a good time to reevaluate with something that significant. You can't downplay the significance of it, because it is a major, a small economy, but a significant economy having that problem. So what does that mean in the big picture? And I guess that compares to what Seller's talking about at his micro level, what you call a tactical level, from the military terms, what he's doing. He talked about how he'd missed opportunities for investment, or basically to get further success, or be productive or whatever. He had missed some opportunities because of his concerns about the economy or whatever. And I think that's that goes along with it. I'll post a link below. I got out of the mutual fund market and IRA market a couple years ago, and I got a video that I did on the first portion of that. That was when the market was sometime around 15.8, something like that. And then I got finally the rest of my paper assets that I could remove. There's still, mandatory retirement that you have to contribute to and stuff, Social Security that's tied to the bond market and everything else that you're always going to have exposure to. But the things that I can control, I was completely out by the time the market was at 17.2. 17,200, which is, we're about 400 above that right now, I guess, or 300 something. So I took myself out of that opportunity as well. There was opportunity where, but it also goes back to risk and cost. What's the risk you take by staying in at that, when you look at the macro level, this larger strategic level, the exposure you have to things like that, to things like Greece, to things like Puerto Rico now, who says they can't pay their debts. What's the exposure you have, and reevaluate that. If you're a trader, a guy, Gregory Mannarino, who I link to a lot, he's a day trader. He trades stocks and stuff all the time. He sees the bigger picture as the issues, but he also has enough insight and information and study knowledge, I guess you'd say, that he basically day trades stocks and everything, and makes a living at it, essentially. Which, if you're able to do that, and you're accepting the risk, I didn't want to be involved in that risk, and that's why I got out. So that's the macro level picture. At the smaller level, the tactical level, down here, we see a lot of the similar things that Seller is seeing, but for different reasons. Out here, the Tesla Gigafactory development has brought a lot of stuff in already. Lots of housing production issues. They've increased a lot of the some road construction in different areas. But you can see the housing market already definitely took off in the last 6 months. I've read several stories on it and stuff. We're looking at 10-15% increases in home prices, stuff like that. It's pretty significant. And they attribute it mostly to the Tesla thing. So that's kind of the, our own local level, what's going on to influence things. So people are benefiting from that. There's people that are making houses, people are getting jobs. More businesses are coming in. So if there's a way to take advantage of it, I guess you would. And that's just northern Nevada. I don't know if anything's going on in Vegas, but this is just the local northern Nevada area that's having a pretty big influence on. So, you know, I don't see a lot of fields being planted or a lot of new vehicles, but I do know the housing market with new people moving in and stuff. That a lot of that's based around the factory, that battery plant getting put in. But you know, it is what it is. I think in reevaluating the situation, I got to look back to some of the big indicators and just the premise that I kind of started with, has any of that changed? So at the macro level, I mean the tactical small micro level, things will always be in flux and up and down periods. But overall, I still see the trend is down because of unsustainable debt and unsustainable economic principles. There's an article, read a couple articles this week. The national debt, the 18 point some trillion, has remained stagnant, has remained frozen for like 6 months since they did the last, kick the can down the road. You know, they upped the debt ceiling or whatever. It's still 18 point something or another, which I predicted last year that the debt will be above 20 trillion when the next election comes around. But because it has to happen, and I think that's one of the things that. Okay, I look at the debt. The debt is continuing to go up. There is nobody taking responsibility for the debt. That has not changed. So as far as an economic collapse scenario, that is a primary indicator. Just like Greece collapsed under its own debt, same problems we're going to have here. I don't see that changing. Our unemployment has supposedly went down, but we also know that there's lots of people who have just stopped seeking out jobs and are not included in those numbers. So those numbers are somewhat skewed. I mean, I would say that probably the unemployment has gotten better to a certain degree, but not to the level they say. We're not. I don't believe we're down in 5 percentage point territory. We're definitely not that low, but it has improved. But is it enough? And is it sustainable jobs? Are they just, getting jobs in Seattle for $15 an hour, which is also unsustainable when all these minimum wage laws making $15 an hour jobs out of nothing. That's unsustainable. So that's another key indicator. Locally here, the drought is at the micro level. The drought is a big issue that could impact things in the next couple of years. So that's a concern to always be watching. So that's outside of the economic principles, but it's something we'll watch. Another article that come up the last couple of weeks, or I saw somebody do a video on it, is about the M2 money supply, which is the physical money in the economy. And it also helps measure the velocity of money, which is how often a dollar changes hands within the economy, which a higher velocity is what the Federal Reserve wants. I mean, there's activity, things are getting bought and sold, etc. And the physical supply, the M2, has went down. And that's one of the indicators the Federal Reserve uses to stimulate the economy or do another QE. And with the M2 dropping, that says to the Federal Reserve, we got to infuse cash. But they just stopped QE. But like we've been saying all along, they can't stop QE. And another thing that goes along with I think it was PNW Writer put that article out. I'll have to go back and see if I can link it below. But put that out there, the M2, he put that article, the M2 money supply. And another key indicator with the M2, though, is that as the M2 going down can also be a result of people paying off their debt, which you can only hope that's part of it. But are people saving it, putting it away, and it's not getting moved in the economy? Or is it paying off debt? Because it doesn't, when it pays off debt, it gets shown as a decrease in M2, is the way it reflects in that number. I'm not sure how that works, but that's kind of one of the indicators. But the Federal Reserve sees that as a negative indicator. So if people are paying off debt and the physical money is going down, they're going to want to put more bills into it, which is a inflationary sign for them, and that's bad for all of us, because then you're going to have more money, which means higher prices. We've got a little bit of break with gas, but as food or anything else went down, I haven't seen it. Most of your stuff other than gas hasn't went down this last year, 6 months, since the gas and oils went down. So there's still a lot of instability in the economy, a lot of factors that don't match up. You got really, really low interest rates, really low bond rates. The dollar has strength and value because everything else is so worthless. It's even more worthless than the dollar, which is just a bizarre scenario. But then it goes back to, well, what is the dollar? What's the value of the dollar? It's all based on, is looking at, again, reanalyzing the premise. Has the dollar been shored up or backed by anything, since a couple years ago, 5 years ago, when I first started trying to evaluate this? And I say no. So I still see the collapse scenario as still very prescient, very right in front of us. My micro level, there's still things going on in the economy locally, but that can easily be overshadowed by anything at the macro level that can take it off, unpeg it and totally. I mean, if there's no money, no economy, if the economy starts on that downward trend, Tesla's not going to be able to sell any vehicles to get these batteries out of here. It's going to be irrelevant. So, it's good to watch your micro level, and see what you can take advantage of. I think seeing what the macro level is at, the collapse is still coming, in my opinion. Can't predict it, and they can prop it up for a long time. But also, I think it's inversely proportional, and I think this is something to continue to watch. The collapse of the economy will be, as the economy trends downward, the police state rises more so. And I think that's one of the key indicators to watch. As the economy continues the downward trend, devaluation, instability, police state increases. I think they're inversely proportional. So I guess that's an economic theory. I don't know, but just throwing that out there, and we'll see the results. But I think this is a good time to reevaluate with Greece going the way it's going and everything else. It looks like Greece will get a bailout because the EU doesn't want to lose them, and they don't want Russia to bring them under their wing like they are trying to do in Ukraine. Otherwise, they're going to start some war over it. But some thoughts. Thanks, Seller, for the video discussion. Live free.